Hi, I'm Shar Jorgenson and welcome to Inspired by Shar. Today I'm going to show you how to make a quilt which I've called Northern Lights. But before we talk about the quilt in detail, I would like to show you the tools that I'm going to use to make that quilt. Down in front of me you will see a group of templates which I have called Pandora's box. The largest template in the group is what I call the P piece. This one is an add-on to the Pandora's box. All of the templates will come with a paper on them, and you peel that off. So there is our largest triangle. Again, that one is the add-on to Pandora's box. The rest of these shapes all come as a set. All of them have the 1/4 inch seam allowance included in them. They have been computer drafted and laser cut so they're accurate to 1/10,000th of an inch. All of the templates are created to work together as a set, and the first ones that I'm going to show you from this group would be the 2 squares. These make a 6-inch finished square. Each of the larger squares end up to be 3-inch finished. Remember, it is a seam allowance included in them. 4 of the smaller squares equal the larger one when sewn together. Then you have half square triangles for each of those squares. You have the larger one and you have a smaller half square triangle. Can you imagine how many quilts you can do with just those 2 shapes alone? Then you have a 1/4 square triangle that fits into that set. And see how the ears hang over the edge? That is the 1/4 inch that is included in the templates. So that is just your 1/4 square, half squares, and squares. With just these shapes alone, your half squares and 1/4 squares, you are able to make 3 sizes of the flying geese block. So you have the papa geese, you have the mama geese, and you have a miniature flying geese pattern. All of those then used in the same block would give you a snail's trail. So you would start from the center of your block and continue on, and you would have your snail's trail. Whoops, I've got that one arranged a little bit wrong. It would go like this and then continue on, and you would have the snail's trail, which happens to be featured on the cover of the book. Actually, that's a very, very popular quilt from this template set. I'm going to go now to the triangles. These also can be interchanged or used with the squares, but let's first start out with the add-on or the largest P piece. Then you have the next triangle that fits into here. 4 of those equal this one. 4 of this triangle equal this. And 4 of these equal the second triangle. So that's how those interchange. Then there's also diamonds in the set. One of the quilts that I'm going to be showing you today uses the large P piece and a diamond. So they can be used together and to create what I call snow on the mountain. And you can also mix it with the smaller triangles. So you would have this variation, and down on the bottom you would use the little triangle with that one. Or just play with your diamonds alone and not even include the square or the triangles with them. You have hexagons in 2 sizes. The large diamond, 3 of those equal the larger hexagon. And in the small hexagon, you have 3 of those diamonds equal that one. You have half diamonds or elongated ones. 2 of those equal the small diamond, and 2 of these equal the larger diamond. They do all have letters, and in the diagrams in the book, I refer to those when you're choosing your quilt pattern. So you follow the letters on the templates with the diagrams in the book so you know which shapes you want to use when working with them. And that's just a few of the options you have with it. You can make thousands of quilts just with this set of templates. With that set of templates, the kit includes a full color book in diagrams from beginning to end, and it gives you a lot of variations that you can do with the patterns that I've also tested and done sewn out for you. And there are diagrams in the back of the book with just single blocks. So you would look at the diagram, follow the letters on the templates, and you will have fun for a lifetime. You will notice that on the back of some of the templates, I've already put the fabric grips, and that would be these little green felt dots on the corners. The only ones that haven't been put on would be on the big triangles, because we're going to use that one today. I want to show you how I do that. You put a grip on the far tip of each of the corners. And then we'll turn that over. The rest of these now I won't be using today, so we'll slide them off the board. For the quilt we're making today, we're only using the triangles. And we will actually use all of them. So I'm going to trim the extra grip off so I have a nice point there. These are the 4 triangles, and just a little bit of review. The largest one will be the alternating block, which you see in the background here. Then the second triangle is this one right in here. This triangle here will be used in this place, and then the little one is the one up in here. For this quilt, I have chosen batiks. You'll see that there's a lot of color flowing throughout this quilt. Because of the color placement in the printed fabric, it was easy for me to create this quilt because of the multiple colors. And that's how I got the name Northern Lights. Isn't that cool how that looks in the actual fabric? So every time I cut, my fabric will show up in different places of the quilt. Then for the background, I have used a batik that really is a nice contrast to all the other colors. So this was especially easy for me to make because there was so much color in one of the fabrics. And don't you think it was named properly, Northern Lights? It really twinkles, I think. And then Linda Taylor has quilted it with a metallic thread that makes it even glow more. And she has a continuous line going through the triangles. And then in this larger, on the P piece, she has got a real interesting continuous line motif. And it's the same in all of them. I just love what she did. And then in the border, you'll see that the metallic thread really shows up nice, and it's just a flowing free-form pattern. She has so much talent. I just really admire what she has done with this quilt. The next one that I'm showing you has a little bit more of a country feel to it, and when you look at it, notice that there are deer in the background of every one of the P pieces. They actually are fussy cut, so they're all kind of same, but this print had deer kind of at random throughout the whole design, and this one would look pretty hanging in a lodge or actually a boy's room, someone who enjoys hunting. And here you see the same idea with 4 of these equaling this one, and then those 4 units equal then the P piece in the background. The next quilt that I'm showing you is filled with plaids and stripes, and they sit on a bluer background. This one is using plaids and stripes from a collection of scraps that I had actually. And remember in the beginning I talked about how you could mix your diamonds and triangles together. And on this one we have the larger diamond towards the top of the block and then the smaller ones at the bottom. And what I have done is concentrated by separating my lights and dark fabrics. We have put the lighter triangles on the bottom, and then the top of the block has some of your darker ones. And the overall picture I think is really nice. And then I found a background that fit in really nice to complement all of my scraps. And you don't have to always, what I've done is mix 2 contrasting textures that you don't always think of as going together. The diamonds and triangles have been hand quilted, and the larger P piece has been done on a long arm machine. Actually, what I've named that one is Big Sky. I think it reminds me of the Tetons that we've been enjoying in Wyoming. The next quilt that I'm showing you is Little Sky. This one is the miniature version of this same quilt, and that one is using the triangles along the bottom, and then I've started at the top of the pyramid or the triangles with the lighter diamonds and blended it in. Actually, it kind of looks like it's snow on the mountains, peaks of the mountains. And that one was quilted on a home machine and just done diagonally. The next one is a miniature version using just triangles. And that one I think is so cool because I got a chance to use up my smallest scraps in my sewing area. You can see that I've carefully separated them by lights and darks so that they separated. They look actually pretty good just the way they are with the lights and dark triangles separated. Well, now I think we should get started cutting the quilt that we're going to do today. I have the strips already cut for some of them, but I think a little review is always good, and I'm going to show you how I straighten my fabric. Whenever you get fabric, well, I like to buy it in larger quantities. I'll buy like probably 3 yards if I really like it. And then if I just know I'm going to do a whole lot, I might even buy the whole bolt. You never know. What I do is I fold it in half so I match the selvage edges, and then I bifold it up on top of the cutting board that I'm going to be working on. So ahead of time I had kind of made nice folds, but see how it all is bifolded up on so it doesn't take up all that much room. Then when I have it nicely folded, and do take the time to press your fabric. I think that's really important. Then I take a ruler, line up the shortest end of the ruler with the folded edge, and I'll remove this uneven edge here. And something I like to remind people when you're sewing is that I like to use a small cutter because the smaller the cutter, the more control you might have. This is just a 28mm rotary cutter. When you're holding the cutter, hold it so that your pointer finger is on the top of the cutter. Don't hold it like this, because if you do that, you've lost control of your cutter. So put your pointer finger up on top of the cutter. Then when you get down on the fabric, go backwards first and then forward. Then you walk your hand along the ruler so it doesn't slip. Just put gentle, a little bit of pressure on it. Then I'm going to turn that ruler and fabric and mat board all in one motion. Don't disturb it. Now I'm going to take the triangle that I want to use for that piece. And when I look at the block up on the design wall that I've got in progress, you'll see I have broken it down into the little parts. So we have the littler triangle, and then we have the next size. So actually out of this blue, I will use 2 sizes of triangles. The only triangles that are used for this project today are M, N, O, and P. What you do now is you line up one of the straight edges of the triangle on the ruler and move it over till you have found the width that you need. This one happens to be a 2-inch strip of fabric, and then you would cut that strip of fabric. And then I would move that same ruler over and cut a strip to accommodate then the next one, which is a 3 1/4 inch strip. And then we would cut that off. The cutting table that I'm working at is the one that's designed by Tracy's Table. I just love the large work surface, and it has a drawer on the front side. It's awesome. So many times we lose track of our things, and it gives us all the storage that we really enjoy. Okay, now I'm going to lay my cut strips up on top of a smaller mat board. And notice what I have done here. I've taken both the batik and the blue strip, and I'm going to save time by doing it that way. We'll line it all up, making sure we have a perfect match. And you're going to just love the way that this is cut. We're just going to lay the template up on top, and now you'll see the advantage of using the grips. The first cut going backwards, spin the board around, and we have the next cut. So I just got multiples of that piece cut. Then notice how we don't have to waste any fabric. Line it up with this cut edge, continue on. Everything is precise. And as we cut these, you'll get to see how the colors will change, and that's what made working with this quilt so much fun. Underneath, I've got one with a little bit of blue in it. Isn't that fun? I won't have to cut any more of those to show you how that works. Then you move to the next size triangle. And remember, this size is used in 2 places in the block from 2 colors. Okay. Now let's take the N template, and again I would cut from that one just like I did the other one. You know, the name of this quilt, Northern Lights, could probably be changed to something else if you chose a different group of fabric. Like I said, it was the fabric that gave the quilt this name. And there is how I would cut those pieces. Very, very fast, accurate. So because of the speed, I'm still not sacrificing accuracy. The next one that you would have to cut would be from the O template, and I don't have to cut it to show you how, but see how I would cut those, and then there again I would have this shape. This one would be for the O. The P I'm going to do a little bit differently. And let's see if that fits on this board. Nope, I'm going to have to switch to a different board. And now let's place this fabric up on top. In this quilt, when you look at it, you'll see the piece on the edge here is half of this triangle, or it's half of the P piece. So I'm going to take the selvage off of this end. Make sure that this is lined up accurately there. Again, going backwards and then forward. Okay, now that that's done, you're gonna love this. What I have done is taken this point up here, moved it in 1/4 of an inch from this edge. I need to allow for the seam allowance over in here on this part of the block where I attach the border on. So by moving the triangle in so that I have that 1/4 of an inch there, I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to turn the board so it's easy for me to cut that. Not only do I have the right piece for the beginning and the end of the row, this is the piece that will fit in here. Then I have already started the process for now cutting the big triangles. When I get to this point, there won't be any waste. Line this up here, cut one here. Actually, I'm getting 2 each time I cut this, so it goes faster. You'll get 1 here. So I now have 4 big triangles, or the P piece, and the beginning and the end. When I open this up, I'll have enough for 1 more of the big triangles. But what I do with the rest of this piece, I will check to see which one of these triangles fit. I still have fabric enough where I can cut some of the smaller ones down in this part. One thing that I have forgotten to tell you when I've been cutting each of these strips, that always one edge has been on the straight of grain. Your straight of grain is crosswise or lengthwise in your fabric, but you always have one of the edges on the straight of grain. So when I place them on the design wall, I'm careful so that I always put one straight of grain next to one of the bias edges, and that helps me keep control of the block. Also, another little important tip, that when I do the outside triangles on the outside edge, I try to remember to keep this edge as the straight of grain. And I'll keep reminding you of that when I'm sewing the quilt together. If you look at the quilt behind me, this would be an important place to have the straight of grain here in this part of the block, especially to keep it from getting stretched out of proportion. This one in this area is not quite as important, but I would have on the darker blue the straight of grain running in here. I don't always remember to do that. Sometimes when you're chain sewing you forget it, but if you try to make a mental note of it, you might remember. I hope you've enjoyed watching the cutting of the Northern Lights, and now let's have fun putting it together.